Hi everyone. Today video is on a MudBlazor library. So we are going to create a sample that is Blazor WebAssembly. In there we are going to use the MudBlazor UI components. Okay. So let's dive into creating a sample application. Before going any further, I want to show that this entire session, what I am going to explain, has been already made as a blog. The link will be available in the description under the video. So if you are interested, you can click the link. Okay. So let's jump into creating the project. Okay. So this is the command to create a Blazor WebAssembly project in using CLI. Okay. For Visual Studio users, there will be a predefined Blazor WebAssembly template. You can click on it. Okay. So coming to MudBlazor, MudBlazor is a built-in UI component, just like a rich UI components. Like Angular will have Angular material, and Vue.js will have Utify. So every client side will have their own material styling components. So same way for Blazor or the .NET, MudBlazor will be the UI components, rich UI components. You can go and check here in the component section. You will have everything. Okay. So this is about alerts and app bar. Everything is available as a uh, components, Blazor components. A project has been created successfully. Let's open it. So here is my Blazor WebAssembly sample. Okay, the first thing is we need to install a NuGet that is related to MudBlazor. So search like MudBlazor NuGet and click on it. So copy the command. Visual Studio users copy it from the package manager console. MudBlazor package is successfully installed into our project. Okay. Now we need to do some basic setup to consume the MudBlazor components. Okay. For that, you can come here in mudblazor.com website and go for the installation. Okay. So first step is install packages. That is we have already did. Next thing is ask us to import the MudBlazor namespace. So copy that and the imports file. Let's import the namespace. Okay. Next thing is we need to add the CSS and font style. So let's copy these and I am going to paste it in index file about the head tag. Okay. So these are the two files. One is like font awesome and another is MudBlazor CSS. Okay. Now here there is a small note like to comment out the to remove the sites.css and bootstrap min.css. Okay. So we no need this CSS file, bootstrap, and this CSS file. So styles.css will be prefixed with our project name. So these two need to be commented out. Okay. And next we need to add a script file about the body tag. Copy that. This is mudblazor.min.js. Okay. So these mudblazor.min.js mainly helps for us for few components. It's no need to for all components, but for few it's required. Like Dialog components, okay, pop over and snack bar, those kind of things. This JS is required. And next thing, we need to register the service. Okay, for that, go to program.cs. Okay, let's register here mud service. Okay, so import the namespace. Okay, now let's last step, that is it's showing some providers, right? So for now, dialog provider and snack bar provider are no need to import. Okay, but mud theme provider must be imported. Where it imported, either it should be imported in our main layout.razor. So copy that mud theme layer. Okay, so it be in shared folders. So in main layout on top, paste it here. Okay. So those are the getting started steps to configure the MudBlazor. Now let's run our application and check the output. So my application is up and running. You can observe here no styling because we haven't added any MudBlazor UI component, and we also removed the bootstrap.min.css file. Basically, by default, Blazor template comes with the bootstrap.min.css file. Since we have removed those files, we are seeing a plain page with no styles. Okay, so now first thing is I want to do, I want to add some app bar to make our sample project much better. Okay, so if you go to components, okay, here app bar component, see the preview how it looks. So this is the app bar. So now I am going to uh, implement this. Okay, so what I will do, I won't use this existing nav menu, and I am also removing this. Okay, let me add here. So here I have rendered in main layout.razor. Since I want this app bar to be rendered on every page, right? So I have added in main layout.js. Okay. Okay, let's check the our output of our application. See, now it is much better than previous, right? Now we have some app status bar. Okay. Now I want to do implement our Blazor WebAssembly sample with a small CRUD operation. Okay, so that we're going to use most required MudBlazor components what required for us in our sample. Okay, so that we can get familiar with uh, MudBlazor components and how to use them and how to integrate into our project. Okay, So to make a simple CRUD operation, I am going to use a sample third-party API. So this is my API that I am going to use in our sample. Okay. The problem is this is a third-party free API. We can only get the data, but we cannot add records or delete records. So to fulfill our sample application, what I will do, I will implement the real-time logic, like how to call delete API, how to call update API. But I will comment those real-time code, and I will also write some additional dummy code to fulfill our Blazor sample. Okay. So if you have a knowledge on web API creation, my suggestion is you can create your own web API application and try to use it in Blazor WebAssembly application. Okay. So to consume this API into our WebAssembly application, we need to have a HTTP client. So HTTP client can be used in 4 different ways in Blazor WebAssembly application. But in our sample, I am going to use typed client uh, HTTP client model. So typed client means, so this is one domain, right? For this domain, I am going to have a separate class. If I have another domain API, I will have another separate class. So that specific class will contain all required API calls or logics regarding the particular domain only. So that is called typed client technique. So I'm going to use that now. Okay. First thing is, let me create a payload model. Okay. To deserialize the JSON data from the API. So this is my payload class. Now I'm going to have properties of all these types. So for my demo, I no need to use ID, so I'm not going to use it. So remaining properties I'm going to register in my class as well. Okay, like ID, title, body. So this is how my payload class looks like. Next thing, let me create a HTTP client typed client class. This is my client class, HTTP client class. Now let's inject HTTP client object into the constructor. Okay, now what I have to do means we need to register this JSON placeholder client in the startup along with the domain of our API. Okay, so to do that, we need to install one more NuGet package, that is HTTP extension method. You can find Microsoft extensions.http. So copy that command. install this HTTP extension library as well. So from here, we can conclude that library has successfully installed. Okay, now go to programs.cs file. Blazor WebAssembly will don't have startup like Blazor server. Everything need to be registered in program.cs file. So here I can define my client name. So here we need to register our base domain of our API. Okay, so we have successfully registered our HTTP client class as well. Now first thing is, in our sample, I want to load all the data from the API. Okay, for that, let's create a method in our client class to consume the REST API. So this is our fetch API call for fetching the data. So here what we are doing, we are returning, expecting collection of post as the output. So from the HTTP client object, using the get from async method, invoking the endpoint like post. This is nothing but this one. So this domain is automatically injected into the HTTP object in the constructor. So this can be handled by the framework because we have already registered our domain in program.cs file. So here get from JSON async will automatically deserializes the response into collection of objects and return. Okay. Now I'm going to use existing index.razor page in pages. Okay. So let me get rid of all these things. Okay. So here I want to uh, consume that records and I want to display. So for this, I want to display in the cards. So cards are nothing but, okay, these cards. Okay. So these are the look of the cards, MudBlazor cards. Okay. You can check whatever type of styling you want to implement. You can find the sample from here, cards tab. So I want to display each record of my post as a one card in my application. So for that, what I will do here, I want to display the response from the data. So first thing is I need to inject the JSON placeholder client class here. To do that, I can use @inject directive. Okay. So first let's inject it so that I can invoke the API call from my index.razor page. Okay. First, we also need to do one thing. First, go to our imports file. We have created models and API client class, right? So import those namespaces here so that we can directly invoke everywhere in our Razor pages them. So first I will import. Okay. Next thing is I want to also import client API namespace. Okay. So see, now that red squiggly line gone. Now let's create a variable, private variable like list of post. Okay. So this variable going to capture all the data that we are going to fetch from the REST API endpoint. Now on page load, we need to show the data in our index.razor page so that we are going to use a one lifecycle method. In that we are going to invoke the API call. So that Blazor lifecycle method is like, okay. So this is my Blazor lifecycle method. Here I am going to invoke the API client call so that I'm going to assign it to the all post variable. Okay. Now I want to display all the data into the MudBlazor card component. So let's write the MudBlazor cards component. So first let's write for each loop. So here you can observe I have rendered MudBlazor card component. So it is like Mud card component. Inside it will have a child component like Mud card content. So here it will have all the text we are rendering. Okay, so here from here we can understand we have used two components, like one is mud card, okay, and another one is mud text. Text is to represent the text, okay, and this mud card is tail component of this mud card component, okay. So let's render the data. Okay, now let's run our application. And one small correction, please make sure to have HTTPS only. And one more thing is this URL is posts s. So please correct this as well. Now you can observe the data is rendered here. See, I am scrolling. These are all cards, right? So, but there is no line break between them, right? So for that we can use one MudBlazor component like Mud Divider. Okay, so let's use it after the mud card tag completion. And now let's check. See, now you can see some separator line, right? Better than previous, right? So that's the effect due to because of the mud divider. It's dividing the our each block. Okay. Now one more thing. I want to render these cards inside of the mud container. Okay. So if you want what is mud container, you can come here and search for container. So here is the container. See, some box effect you will get. Okay. So if you observe, it is wrapped in the mud paper. So this is also one more MudBlazor component only. Okay. So this is paper. Okay. And inside it is a container as well. And inside this blue color layer is another mud paper. Okay. So it is good to wrap the mud container around a mud paper. Okay. So now I am going to render my all tiles into the mud paper. So if you observe, I have rendered my mud paper and mud container components. Okay, so you can also see this calculator with these are the MudBlazor component properties for styling. Okay, you can take like this. So with these T anchor brackets inside T type, those are all properties of the Blazor component or nothing but the MudBlazor component. You can take all of them, different types of styling. You can give also styles as well. See this style. Okay. So now what I will do, I will cut this entire thing and paste it here. And remove this. So final our rendering output like this. Inside of the mud container, our cards looping is rendering. So let's check the output. See, now with some spacing you can observe some container. This is nothing but a mud paper container effect. Okay, but it is going under our app bar, right? So let's do some styling here. So let's use some padding and check output. Yes, it is coming, right? Here also give some style. So I'm going to use style input. Okay. See here container and our box no padding is there. Now let's check. See, we got some padding, right? Now our application look much better now. So these are all my containers and these are tiles. Let me bind my ID property as well in my card. For that, I am going to use chip. Okay, MudBlazor chip that going to give some styling effect. Okay, so these are the chips. Okay, so what I will do, I am going to use this chip styling into my MudBlazor into my cards. So here I have rendered my mud chip component. So inside of it, I'm going to give my post ID. Let's check the output. See, now it is much better, right? We can identify more easily. Okay. So finally, what we have did, we have completed reading and rendering of the data from the API. and rendered our data with nice rich UI using the MudBlazor component. So let's analyze what are the components we have used our sample. Like mud paper is and mud container are wrapping uh, of our uh, display, and mudcut where our content rendered, and mud text for rendering the text, and mud chip for displaying some style label for my ID. So these are the components so far we have used, and also mud divider where it divides between each render component. So now next thing is I want to create a post, right? We have done read operation. Now we need to do create operation. So we know our API doesn't support create operation, but I'm going to implement entire logic how it should be implemented when we have a real-time API. But I will comment that code and also write some additional code to fulfill our sample application. Okay. So now I want to add a one button. Okay. So on clicking that button, I want to open a pop-up. Inside of pop-up, I will have a small text fields like a form. Okay, so where user can enter the data, and there will be a cancel and save button. So on clicking the save, I want to create the new record. Okay, so for that, let's add MudBlazor buttons. So for this button, if you go to buttons, there are two different types of buttons. So these are normal buttons. If you want, you can use it, but I will use button fab. See, this nice effect will come. Okay, I'm going to use this button fab. Okay, let's add our MudFab button. So this is my MudFab button. Okay, so let's see how it looks. So I will color it. I want red color. Uh, so let's check our output. See, here we are getting one plus icon, right? So on clicking this, I want to open a pop-up. Okay, MudBlazor provides components like uh, dialog component. Okay, so you can check here in this sample like this, it will come. So for this, what I will do, I will create this dialog component as a separate component, and I want to open this same MudBlazor component with my for creating a new record as well as updating the new record. So first, let's create a new Razor component. Okay, so this is my component. Here I want to render my uh, MudDialog content. So this is my dialog box container content. So here we have rendered MudDialog component. Inside it will have child components dialog content where we have to display our forms. We are going to do in next coming steps, and few uh, mud button components. Okay, so MudBlazor dialog component will have a cascading property like so. This is cascading parameter. Cascading parameters, but nothing but the where it's like passing parameters. Okay, so this property mud dialog instance nothing but it's use control over this mud dialog component. Okay, so let's register a click event for our method. So it will have MudBlazor event like on click. Okay, so this is not this is a MudBlazor click event. Okay, not Blazor WebAssembly click event. Now I need to register with a method. So let me create a method like task. Okay. Now on clicking this button, I need to invoke the this add dialog, add or update dialog component, right? So let's register this. So registration is similar to our Blazor assembly registration only. Okay. So now it will invoke this method. So now I want to invoke the MudBlazor, right? So MudBlazor dialog component. For that, I need to inject one service and dialog service. Okay. From this, we can invoke the MudBlazor component, but we need to import one more like Mud provider theme in startup. We need to invoke Mud dialog provider. Okay. Don't forget to import it. Okay. If you recall, in our setup steps, you can find Mud dialog provider is uh, available there, but at that time it is optional, but now it is required because we are using Mud dialog into our application. So that is the configuration for a iDialog service. Now using iDialog service, okay, dot show, okay, show, and I can specify the name of the component. What is my component? Add or update dialog. Okay. Okay. So this has to open up my add or update dialog. Let's test it. Press the page, click on add button. See, now I am getting dialog and OK and click cancel and OK. But there is no title, right? Actually, here we can pass the title. So let me pass a title like create a post. See, I've got title now. But here cancel and OK buttons are doing nothing, right? So what I will do in add Blazor, let me create methods like cancel. Okay. Cancel. You can call this cancel method of this mud dialog instance. Okay. As well as close. Or I can say OK. So here what I will do, here also I simply mud dialog dot close. So if you want, you can write your API calls here. But I want this dialog generic, right? So I'm not going to call any API call inside of the our dialog component. Okay. So let's test these action methods are working or not by registering them. So to the mud browsers, mud buttons, one click. So no properties, right? So I can directly assign them like this, like delegates. Okay, let's check whether they are operatable or not. Now let's add some field. Now let's add some text field into. So I want to use text fields like my text fields. Okay, so I'm going to use these two fields for one is for body and one other is for title. So let's label them title and the body. So here I want to capture the data, right? So for that, what I will do, I have to create a post model instance, but I want to use this form for both update and add. In that case, from my index.razor component, I need to pass the some object into this add or update dialog component, right? For that, I can do one property like parameter, okay? And here I will create a public post, okay? And initially empty post. So it will captures the data that we are going to pass to our add or update component dialog component from the index.razor that we are going to understand in upcoming step. So now what I will do, I can bind these properties here to get the two-way binding. So these are my form fields. Let's test our output. See, I am getting now, right? You can observe form fields, title and body. Okay. So now let's write the HTTP client logic for invoking the API. Okay. So I just copying that code from my snippet to save some time. Okay. So from the commented code, you can understand. See, this method can be used for both update and create. Okay. So here what it is doing, we are posting new data. Okay, to the endpoint. Okay. So automatically payload will be serialized by the post JSON async method. Okay. So on receiving response, we are returning that response from this creator update method. This is the logic for our real-time API. But we know we don't have real API to create our post. So what I'm doing, I'm commented original code and I have implemented dummy code. Dummy code is nothing but I'm simply returning new post. Okay. So this like this should be implemented our code. So this is the main implementation for invoking the creator update API. Okay. So now let's go to our index.razor. Okay. Now I want to invoke the API call in my index.razor page, not in here. So that means I want to get the form data from here to my index.razor page, right? So for that, on OK button, there is an instance like dialog result. Okay, dot OK. Here I can specify the type of OK is post, and I'm going to pass. This only contains my post data, right? My form data because two-way binding. So I will pass that object. Okay. So now what happens means on clicking OK button, we can capture the data. To do that, I need to await it, this dialog content, and let's grab it into a variable. Okay. Now what I have to do, I need to check for the data. Not equal to null. Okay. Then I want to execute my logic. Okay. So where post dialog data equal to dialog data. So this dialog data is the object type, I believe. Yes. We need to cast it as post. Okay. Now what I will do, I need to pass it to my API call. For that, Json placeholder dot created update post, and I will pass this post dialog data, and it will return new record that is saved from API, right? So new post. Okay, and I want to add this post to the top of my results. For that, what I will do, call post. So it be available. Dot insert range of 0 new post. I think this is going to create my new record. So here what we are doing, once recap again, here we have awaiting for the results from the payload, sorry, dialog box. From where it is coming, it comes from the dialog result. It is invoked on closing the, on clicking the OK. So on cancelling, we are not passing anything, right? So the data will be empty. At the time on clicking cancel, it will don't execute because data will be empty. So let's test it. MudBlazor rich UI library for Blazor. Okay, let me create a record. See, I'm created record, but here I am not getting any data, right? So sorry, my ID is 0, right? So let's update the logic here as well. So in real time, this logic for updating ID is not required. For demo, because we are not sending any data to server, right? We don't have endpoint, but we pretend we have endpoint. So for that, I am faking here post ID, like what I will do, new post equal to, okay. I'm simply getting the highest ID and incrementing the value. So this is purely for this line for demo. Now, if you try to add a new record, we will get ID as well. So MudBlazor rich UI library. See, 1 at 1. Now I am getting this record as well, right? So I think that's all about the creating the record into the app. Okay. And next thing is I want to pending operations is like edit and delete. First, let's look at the edit. So here I want edit icons below my card. Okay. So for that I can use mud icons. So inside of the code to represent action buttons, there is child component like mud code action. So here I need to render the mud icon. So this is my mud icon button. Okay. And here you can see edit icon. So let's see the output first. See, we are get edit button, right? So now we need to have a one callback method for this edit, right? So this is update operation, right? Here update also use same method, creator update method. So nothing we need to do in our JSON placeholder client class. Okay. Only thing is here we need to do in our index.region. So let's create private async task and update. So update obviously required uh, ID. So based on that ID, we need to fetch the uh, post record, and that post record must be passed to the dialog box. Okay. So to do that, let's add parameter like ID. Post for dialog. So this should be displayed from the post dialog, right? So I will filter it from the all post where so filtering the record by based on the ID record. Okay. Now I should pass it to the my dialog, right? So here also I need this line of code to invoke the uh, update record, but title should be updated. Now we need to pass the parameter from here to the payload. For that we will have one instant like dialog params equal to new dialog parameters. Okay. To this we can add dialog params dot add. Okay. First the parameter name. Parameter name. Here we have already specified, right? This will be received from the parent. So this name should be assigned here. So like this, if you want to pass n number of objects with the param as a decorator, you can create n number of properties here to pass from the parent class. Okay. And here I can pass post style. And while invoking, we need to pass, right? So here I can specify dialog param. There is a overload method. Okay. So now let's check its behavior, whether our form gets populated or not with the data we selected. So let me okay, I haven't registered the callback method. So let's register first on click. Okay. Post.id. So we should good to go. Let's test it. See, my data is automatically populated, right? Now let's save the updated data logic. Okay. Now we need to check for the dialog data. If dialog.data not equal to null. Okay. Then what we have to do? Then post to dialog data equal to dialog dot data as post, converting as post object. Next thing is we need to invoke the API call for updating as well, passing this dialog data post. So here we can read updated post. Okay. Now what I will do, I will exclude the old record from the all posts that equal to all post dot where id not equal to id dot toList. Right? We are excluding the old record. Now we are insert updated record and the top all posts. Sorry, updated post. Right? Let's check whether our record is updates or not. Let's edit it. Let's remove. I will say heading like hello. Click on OK. See, hello. That means we are successfully done with edit as well. Finally, delete operation. So in our code, let's add one more icon button, mud icon button, like delete. Okay. So here I want to have delete method as a callback. Private is enough. Async task delete. So int id. Okay. So let me copy paste my JSON placeholder client logic for invoked in the delete API. So this is my delete API. Here I have a commented. This should be our original logic. For our demo, I am faking nothing I am doing, just awaiting a simple zero as a result task. Okay. Now index.razor. Let's first call that method read post and pass the ID. Next, we use simply this line of code to remove from our project that record. I think the only thing is I need to change it as the delete. Okay. And one more thing, I need to change the method work. Let's check. These all names you can check in the docs of the MudBlazor. See, delete icon came. Okay, it's deleting. But I want to show some warning message. For that, I can use a message dialog. Okay, from MudBlazor. So to know that, so this is the message box I want to use, like this while deleting small message. Okay, so this is my message box. Message box also part of the dialog service only. Okay, so here we are preparing the content in the dialog box itself. So first parameter is like a title, and second parameter this is message and the text boxes. Okay, if we click on S button, S text, then it will return Boolean value. So if result not equal to null and result equal to true means user click yes I am agree to delete the record. OK button. At that time only this logic should be executed. Okay, let's test it. So let's delete first record. First, let's click me cancel button. See, nothing happened. Cancel again. Nothing happened. Now let's me confirm delete. See, my first record gone. Let me delete second as well. See, my second record gone. So from this, we can understand uh, we have completed all four CRUD operation of our Blazor WebAssembly sample. But more than Blazor WebAssembly CRUD operation, here we also understand the different MudBlazor components that are provided by the MudBlazor library and how they are useful and how the rich UI will affect our application. So there are a lot more another other concepts here. MudBlazor provide everything. Okay, you can check anything from this docs of the MudBlazor library. Okay, so I think this sample has given some good idea for the beginners to how to integrate and how to use the required component from the MudBlazor. Okay, so that's all about the MudBlazor library using in the Blazor WebAssembly application. I hope this video has delivered some useful information to you all. If you like my video, please do subscribe to my channel. Soon we will meet you again with a new video. Until then, signing off.